Hi, this is Travis Hedge Coke, and you're watching me. I like this top. I may be the only person still alive who likes this shirt. Over 20 years ago, my friend Aaron Gabriels and I were asked to take a teenage boy with us around Southern California while we ran errands because his mother was concerned he was increasingly homophobic, increasingly frustrated and angry about queer people, queer things, the idea. She did not know if this came from his friends. Was it something from television or other media? Was he closeted? Did he have a bad experience with something? But she was concerned that it was going to get worse and worse. So she basically grabbed the two nearest queers and, can you do me a favor? So we took him with us. At the time, Aaron and I worked at a small TV studio, and Aaron also ran for supplies and just various items that local movie shoots needed that weren't in their initial plans or whatever. And so he might be asked to go get rolls of toilet paper. He might be asked to go get gunpowder or whatever. That was the gig. So we had some things he had to pick up for that. I had some things to do. I also wanted to do some clothing shopping. Now, at the time, I liked to shop, but I couldn't pick things. I couldn't make up my mind a lot of times. I didn't like to make final decisions. Aaron, on the other hand, was a very large person. Aaron was well over 6 foot, way higher, way bigger than me, and also very heavy set. So clothing had less options for him, especially nice clothing or shiny clothing. Interesting, he had very simple, basic stuff that they'd have in these big and tall shops, and he'd wear it, but it wasn't exciting to him. He liked when I dressed up, and he liked to help me dress up, and it was a big thing for him, and it was fun for me, and so we'd go shopping together, and we'd pick things. And so we took this kid, this 17, 18-year-old boy, and went shopping. He went shopping with us, and we go straight to the women's section because the nicest, funnest clothes are in the women's section. That's always true. I don't care where you go. That's the case. So that's where we went. Also, they fit better on me. I'm tiny, and there's not a lot of tiny men's clothes. When you get to that point, you get to the children's clothes, and then there's this gap between children and men's that doesn't work. So we went to the shop, and we're looking at stuff, and I'm trying on this skirt, and I'm trying on this top, and I'm trying on these pants, and we found this shirt, and I was excited about it, and Aaron was excited about it, and this girl that worked at the shop ran over, and she's excited about it because that's another thing is when Aaron and I would go shopping and go do this, people at the shops frequently would get very excited with us. And, that's enthusiastic as well. That's exciting. So we got the outfit, we got this top, and while they're having me put it on and show them in the shop, it upset the teenage boy so badly, he walked out to the parking lot and vomited it right outside the exit of the store. So, did that help him? Did that not help him? We're still friends. I don't know that he'll remember this or see this, but he might. I should probably tell him I'm going to tell this story. I should probably tell his mom I'm going to tell this story, but I'll probably forget. Which brings me to our theme. I don't know when things are too problematic as long as I enjoy them, and that's a problem. That being a problem I can understand. But I was born in 1980. I'm in my 40s. I'm ADD. I'm autistic. I'm lazy. I'm overly excitable. I used to be a lot more overly excitable and a lot more energetic and passionate about things. My disabilities have degraded over the years. My mobility has degraded over the years. And in conjunction with medication, my levels of excitement and passion have also sort of tamped down. But, you know, I'm going to think of things fondly. And when I think of things that were in the past, I may not think of them the way I think of them, process things now. I'm going to process them the way that I would process them at that time. So if I saw a movie in 1988, I generally remember that movie as 1988, which I think most of us do to one degree or another. Most of us have selective, bias in terms of how we received media, how we recollect media, how we receive and recollect any interaction or any experience. And in those years, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, there was not a huge amount of representation for queer people, for mixed race people, for a lot of demographics, a lot of subsections of humanity, in a way that did not reflect reality. When we talk about queer presence in media, which is still not where it should be, we'll say, oh, well, how many queer people are there, in reality, really, compared to how many queer people are there in television or film or comics or, music. And it's not that the people aren't there. It's that most of them aren't even out commercially. And there's a difference between being out commercially and out publicly. There's a difference between being out commercially or publicly and out privately. There are levels to these things. We are, as queer people, always coming out. You come out multiple times. You may have to come out multiple times in 1 week. So when we talk about queer presence in film, for example, there may be gay actors, there may be intersex, bisexual, trans actors, but they may not be highlighted as trans characters or gay characters, or they may not be commercially out, meaning that they are living an out and open lifestyle, but it is not in the media, it does not come into play in terms of the audience that is receiving them. The general audience is not aware of it. Sometimes we also call this nominally queer or nominally gay, meaning that we're pretty sure, or if you're in the know, but they haven't said something officially in a major news organ that can be trusted, so you can't say it just whatever and announce it, and have it confirmed. You can't confirm it. So this is a film series called Sleepaway Camp. There are multiple films in the series as well as official shorts. And the protagonist, who is a slasher killer, begins as a young trans girl and then ages into her teens and her 20s, sometimes played by Felissa Rose, sometimes by Pamela Springsteen, sometimes by an anonymous naked model who has Felissa Rose's head mounted on artificially. These films are not generally well received by the trans community today, specifically younger trans people. And there's good reason for that. The first film can be read as transphobic. One of the most common things that you'll hear from fans of the film even is that the end scene that confirms that the Felissa Rose character has a penis is the most shocking thing they have ever seen. Or worse, the scariest thing they have ever seen. Oh my God, there is a penis on a naked child in a movie. To me, it's a little weird that there's a penis on a naked child in a movie. It is not a child's penis, it is an adult man that they used as a stock model, and then they put her head on it. But that's weird. It's still not the scariest thing in the movie. Now, when I saw that movie, on the other hand, and the way that I continue to receive that movie, especially in light of the sequels in which the character, Angela Baker, is happily trans, happily engaged in murdering people in the woods and taking over identities, is that this character, this young girl, when she is adopted, and she is adopted because her father and his gay lover are killed in an accident, along with her sister, the adoptive mother decides, she says to her something like, well, we already have one boy, so we don't really need another boy. And that's later to clue us in that she's been turned from a boy to a girl. The way that I'm looking at it as a kid and now is that that's not saying, well, we already have one boy, so you can't be a boy. It's that Angela wanted to be a girl. Angela was a girl who was born with a penis. And this adoptive mother, who's a little bit kooky, a little bit off the beaten track, and mad stylish and fun to watch, is telling her, you don't have to dress like a boy. You don't have to present like a boy. You don't have to pretend to be a boy. You can be a girl. Look, I've already got a boy. He's a boy. I can let him do all the boy things. You be you. And that's Angela. And when you look at the people that she kills in the first film, she's not killing people because of some kind of, they're going to find out that I'm trans, or I'm jealous because I'm trans, which is the typical sort of approach to trans killers in movies. This is the Psycho. He's not supposed to be trans. He's just got an alternate personality who happens to be his mother. So they try to distance it from that. But the idea is still, you got to kill people that are going to find out. When it comes to something like Michael Caine, same thing. Got to kill people if they're going to find out. With Angela, the kills are primarily about child rapists, child abusers, bullies. One of the bullies in the film was early on also going to be a rapist, and they adjusted that during the script, but still, those are the people that she's killing. So it's not a trans panic story in any way, regardless of how audiences responded to it, regardless of that last scene and how certain people may take it, or even that it may have been intended that way. The rest of the film doesn't really support that, in my opinion. So I get a lot of energy from Angela Baker. I enjoy Angela Baker, particularly in the sequels, although I love Felissa Rose, and I love when she's in things now as an adult, especially if, as it is in Caesar and Otto, she's able to parody her character from Sleepaway Camp. But when Pamela Springsteen takes over, she wilds on it. It's beautiful. She's so enthusiastic, playing this gleeful, happy, energetic trans character who has no tolerance for bullshit. And she just kills people when she feels like it. Is that good? Is that positive? No. Is it fun to watch? Is it positive to watch? Yes, it is. It's really fun and it's silly. And some of the people are real jackasses and probably deserve it. And some of the people are pretty innocent kids that are just having a rough time and they're just kind of shitty kids or whatever. But it's fun. It's funny. And it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's obviously a lampoon of the typical "these children deserve it" kills in slasher horror movies. Another thing that I really enjoy and really get a lot of positive energy out of that I know is problematic, and I understand why it's problematic, is a 1980s comic called Fallen Angels, and a follow-up to that comic called Exterminators. In Fallen Angels, there's a character named Chance whose family were trafficked over by a church, and she's really edgy and really pissed off and very trans-mask coded, but also very protective of, keeping that kind of girl space, which I found as a kid absolutely fascinating and absolutely wonderful. She also says things that she shouldn't say, and that includes things that are potentially racist. Are they racist? I don't know. They're close enough that she should know better than to say them, but she says them anyway. And she may be saying them to be terrible. She does not want to be close to people. She does not want people to like her or associate with her. And that may come down to saying things that are hurtful. Which brings us to Sunspot, a superhero from the New Mutants who is in Fallen Angels, who has, over the years since the 80s, gotten lighter and lighter in skin to the point where he had a light skin actor in the New Mutants movie, which was a horribly racist movie. Do not watch it. Don't bother. But also in the comics, he continually gets lighter, and his hair is less kinked and less curly, and it's straighter. There's this whole thing going on. I don't know why. I'm not going to guess why. Not going to put, ideas on people or words in their mouths or, anything like that. But in the 80s, one thing you could really do with Berto is he had traumatic experiences with racism as a mixed child, a mixed black child. And by the time of Fallen Angels, he runs away from the school where the New Mutants are, the Charles Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, in part because he has flashbacks to those traumatic racist events after a fight with his best friend in the New Mutants, who is a white boy from Kentucky, who later goes on to say some atrociously racist things in the early 2000s, including quoting the "I'm white, free, and 21. So, there you go. In Fallen Angels, he runs away, he meets Chance. Chance is immediately racist to him. And other characters are racist to her as well. It was the 1980s. To be fair, a lot of people were racist to a lot of people. That hasn't exactly changed right now, but it has changed somewhat in media. Media, again, does not reflect reality, nor does it promote or correct reality. It is at best a skewed, a funhouse mirror. At best. More often than not, it is not a mirror. It's like looking at a video of something that sort of copies what you're copying, but then it does something wacky and you're like, okay, it's not me. That's like a recording of somebody else. That's media. That's all media. So you have this character who has these positive aspects that are integral to them, and this negative aspects, but also some that aren't just negative personally, but hurt other people. and are not addressed in the comic as hurtful, which can be hurtful to audience members. You know, reading something like that can hurt you, and that's completely valid. But when I think of Chance, I don't think about that part of it. I have to remind myself that Chance has hurt, not just can hurt, but has hurt audience members. That her portrayal and her representation, that the dialogue written in that comic, that the presentation of that comic has hurt people. And yet I still get, you know, the positive aspects out of it. That's what you have to do. You have to look for a way to balance what you get out of things. And you have to decide if it's worthwhile or not, if it's worth pursuing or not, continuing with or not. There are media that I enjoyed, sometimes immensely, sometimes casually, that I have completely cut out of my life because someone involved in some way hurt me or hurt someone else to such a degree that I no longer have interest or an ability to find my enjoyment in that, find my pleasure in that. The film series Jeepers Creepers, I like the director. I remember he did Powder, and then he did Jeepers Creepers and Jeepers Creepers 2, and I was kind of like, it's interesting because it's obviously a gay eye, and you don't see in either of those kind of films that kind of presentation. You don't, even with gay directors, gay film directors, Dakota or someone, oftentimes will veer into a very hetero, cishet perspective. And those did not as much, which I found interesting. And then you find out, if you didn't already know, that he raped children, he did time for this, but there's not a lot of apology going on there, and there is some weird defense from like Francis Ford Coppola in regards to that, and I'm unable to do it. I can't bother anymore with that. I think that's also completely valid. I think that's not canceling someone. I didn't go and, pull open the camera and let the film roll out or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't feel like watching another movie of his. I don't feel like watching those ones again. That's it. It's over with. For me. I am ridiculously disabled. I could die anytime. My doctors remind me I could die anytime from multiple things. We had an organ failure scare just this weekend where I was ridiculously limited, horribly limited, and in a great deal of pain. And at one point, one of the doctors goes, the dial nurse goes, if you start to feel suicidal from the pain, make sure to come in, make sure to go to, urgent care or go to emergency. And I thought to myself, and I told them, I'm not gonna do that. I have been suicidal before. I've been very seriously suicidal. I'm not gonna kill myself because I hurt all the goddamn time. But at the same time, I hung up, phone. I go on with whatever I'm doing, and the pain that I was in this weekend was so bad that out of my mouth comes, I just want to fucking die. So even when I'm not feeling that, I definitely still said it. So I don't feel like I have to put up with media that I don't want to put up with. I don't feel like I have to put up with situations I don't want to put up with. It doesn't mean I'm shutting them down for other people, right? but I don't have to subject myself to it. Now, you may not be in the same boat as me. You may be in a worse boat than me. I don't know. But regardless, whatever your situation is, I'm just telling you, you don't have to put up with media either. There is no reason for you to sit through a film series or a film or a television episode or a song if it hurts you too much, if it bothers you too much, if it's annoying. I don't even care if it's not offensive, it's not, horrible. If it's annoying, why bother? What's the point? We don't get, brownie points for this. There's no checklist of, oh my God, I've read every appearance of Spider-Man in comics. Because even if you think you have read every appearance of Spider-Man in comics, I guarantee you have not. I guarantee you have not. And that's the thing when we get to, well, there's no good comics right now, or there's no good television right now, there's no good films right now. There are so many movies, so many comics that you have not experienced, and there are so many that you have experienced that you haven't experienced recently, or that are still, you're going to benefit from a reread or a rewatch. Don't force yourself to go in and check something off this imaginary checklist that nobody cares about. Even if it feels integral to you, or it feels like you're going to be judged if it doesn't happen. I've written a book on the X-Men called Examining X-Men. Also, at the end of as it serialized, it started Examining X-Men, and by the end it becomes Mutant Thoughts. But it's the same book. I felt that an X-Men book should mutate as it goes. I'm not an X-Men expert. It is specifically about a run that was started by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. I am neither a Frank Quitely nor a Grant Morrison expert. I am currently serializing a book on Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, which also has Frank Quitely art in its final issue, as well as art from Jill Thompson, Phil Jimenez, lots of people. And I'm not an expert. I'm not an Invisibles expert. I'm not a Jill Thompson expert. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not an expert in anything when you get down to it. I am a dilettante in many things. And sometimes I'm not even enough to be a dilettante in things. So don't feel like you have to be. Everyone who is an expert in things has other people who they ask for details about things, or for their blind spots, or because they forgot something. Every expert that's out there has to go double check things or catch up on things. So don't feel like you have to be on top of everything. You have to know everything, including what the sins are of a filmmaker or a producer or a comics writer or a cartoon voice actor. You're not responsible for what they've done or what they've said or anything, how they present. It's not up to you, and it's not up to you to be up on all of it. It's not up to me to be up on all of it. Sometimes we praise somebody way longer than the general population because we just missed out on what they did. Other times we know early on and the larger audience doesn't know, and they haven't caught on, and it may feel horrible to us that they still love this person, or they still support this person, or big them up, or whatever. They still love this book, they still love this movie that is problematic and has this issue or this thing that's in it that it affects us in some way, or even if that way is just emotionally, or on behalf of someone else or on behalf of another group, but the general audience are still, yay, excited. You can't get that mad at them. You can't get that mad at them. You can't make a big deal about it because you'll just eat yourself up. Trying to keep up on everything, catch up on everything, you just eat yourself up. And the few times that I have been seriously in journalism, shit ate me up. I quit being a journalist during the Bush administration, the second Bush administration. I was told that Afghanistan was too confusing and too distracting for our readers at the newspaper, and so change that and just say the Middle East. Don't give regions, don't give nations. Everything is the Middle East. I couldn't do it. In conjunction with that, Martin Luther King Jr. Day came by, and they didn't have a photo of a black person and a white person holding hands, which they really wanted to run with their story. So they took a photo of two white people, not even from that year. They took it out of the files, and they photoshopped one of the hands black, and they ran that. I moved over to ghosting for their film reviewer, who did not write any of his own reviews. He just had other people writing the reviews, and they go out under his name. You get some money, he gets some money. They sent me to a film which pre-9/11 might have been just this fluff, goofy movie. The film is called Extreme Ops with Rufus Sewell. And after 9/11, and after some adjustments had been made to the movie, they sent me to go see it, and I'm supposed to review it. And it is a film about how some extreme sports kids who skateboard through LAX and take no guff and break all the rules and blah, 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 fight Eastern European terrorists who are like Osama bin Kami, basically. It's really, really fucking weird. And halfway through, maybe not even halfway through the movie, I left. I went to a payphone. I called the newspaper at the payphone, and I told them I can't go back into the movie. I can't watch this movie. I can't write this review, because their rule was they told you what they wanted to be positive and what they wanted to be negative, and they wanted that to be a positive review. That's a good review. And I couldn't do it. I like a lot of the actors that are in that movie. If you look at that movie on like IMDb or something, you go to Google and you go type Extreme Ops cast, that's a good cast. Not a good movie. It might be. I haven't seen it in years. But at the time, it was too much. So I walked out, and they go, if you can't go back in and finish it, or if you can't go home and just write the review, job's over. Job was over. And that's good. That's a good thing. One, I shouldn't have been ghosting for that guy. Nobody should have been ghosting for that guy. They did not pay us enough for that job. I can tell you that right now. Two, nobody should be telling you whether you write a positive review or a negative review. I messed myself up. I felt so bad about the COVID lockdown. I told myself when I reviewed Wonder Woman 2, because I disliked Wonder Woman, the movie, and I love Wonder Woman, the character and the concept, that I was going to write a positive review. I was only going to focus on the positive things. And I did. Nobody asked me to. I decided to do that. Not my smartest move. Not my best move. Not my best moment. Don't go look for the review. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. That's all you need to know, is that I apologize. And just, okay, you can go look it up if you want to. You can give me grief over it if you want. I made a decision.